Mr. Trump tweeting out, wow, word seems to be coming out that the Obama FBI spied on the Trump campaign with an embedded informant. Andrew McCarthy says there's probably no doubt that they had at least one confidential informant in the campaign. If so, this is bigger than Watergate. Also today, a massive breakthrough concerning the so-called scope memo that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein sent to Mueller outlining the potential crimes he is authorized to pursue. Mueller has now handed over an unredacted version of the scope memo to federal judge T.S. Ellis. Ellis, overseeing the trial of Paul Manafort, demanded the memo 2 weeks ago, and Ellis has suggested the special counsel attorneys lied about the scope of their investigation, and they are seeking, quote, unfettered power, declaring that Mueller attorneys are more interested in bringing down the president. And the long-awaited watchdog report on the FBI and DOJ's mishandling of the Hillary Clinton email scandal has finally been completed. Inspector General Michael Horowitz has been at it since January of 2017. The draft report expected to focus on former FBI Director James Comey, and it's now with the Justice Department and the FBI for review to identify any classified information. Joining me now for all this, Fox Business legal analyst Gregg Jarrett, author of the new book, The Russia Hoax, The Illicit Scheme to Clear Hillary Clinton and Frame Donald Trump. It's now available for pre-order. And, Greg, I would like to add an addendum to the end of that, by any means necessary. I mean, that's the point. That's what we're finding out with this new information that apparently the DOJ put a spy in the Trump campaign. This has never been done before. And again, by any means necessary, they are out to frame Donald Trump.
If there was any doubt that Americans had that Comey and his minions at the FBI were out to destroy Trump, to frame him for crimes that he didn't commit, this now should convince them. Not only an undercover informant that they were utilizing, a spy, a mole, trying to get people to say something incriminating to entrap them, but they were also using these national security letters in order to avoid a warrant from a judge which they likely knew they could not get. It allowed them to gain records of telephone calls that were made and messages sent.
I want to get to that instrument that they use, which I was unaware of until today, I read about it in the Times. But I just want to focus a little more on this spy story, because we first heard about it, incredibly, by Glenn Simpson, the founder of GPS, who came out with the information that he heard that the DOJ had a spy in the Trump administration. How the heck could he find out about that unless he was working hand in glove with the DOJ?
He was working with the FBI and Christopher Steele, who, of course, composed the fabricated, fictitious dossier.
And just to remind folks, he was essentially on the payroll of the Hillary Clinton campaign. He was a smear merchant that was hired for millions of dollars by the Hillary campaign.
And it was Glenn Simpson and Christopher Steele who were the originators of the hoax, because they're the first ones who met with the FBI in early July, and immediately thereafter, the investigation of Trump-Russia collusion was launched by the FBI. It wasn't this Papadopoulos bar talk. That happened later. No, it was the dossier, and the FBI has been trying to cover that up by peddling this fictitious Papadopoulos story to the New York Times, which is so gullible they've twice now printed it.
That's right. And we first found out about it from Fusion GPS. Then we found out about it from a Washington Post article.
Right.
Then Kim Strassel at the Wall Street Journal wrote about it last week, and she said more important than finding out who the spy was, when the spy was embedded in the Trump campaign, because if, in fact, this spy was put in there before the Papadopoulos incident, that means that, in fact, it was the Trump dossier, it was the association with Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS that spurred this investigation.
You know, the FBI has become all-powerful now in America, and they believe, they are convinced they are accountable to no one, not even Congress, which is obviously constitutionally wrong. Americans, I'm sad to say this, Americans should be afraid of their government, in particular their law enforcement branch, the FBI and the Department of Justice.
Let me talk about this instrument. You mentioned it before, the national security letters. This is kind of like a subpoena, but unlike a subpoena, you don't have to go to a judge. It's not like a FISA warrant where it's kind of like FISA light, where you're able to sign off on it yourself, or the FBI is, and that gives them authority and power to go in, search where they want, demand silence on the part of the person whose house or whatever they're searching, right?
I would argue it is an unconstitutional intrusion on the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure. It's also a violation of privacy rights because there's no legal proceeding here. This is the strong arm of the government doing this on its own furtively. There is a statute called Deprivation of Rights Under Color of Law, and it says you may not deprive somebody of their constitutional rights by abusing your position of power in government. I believe that law has been violated by Comey and others at the FBI.
I want to move on to one other case that we're finding out more about, and that's Michael Cohen's case. Not only did they raid the office of the president's attorney, Michael Cohen, in a very questionable move, the FBI, but then somebody apparently hacked into his banking account and then leaked those records of his banking account, very private records, and individuals have leaked them to the attorney for the porn star, to Michael Avenatti.
Which is a crime.
I mean, who is doing all this, if not a group of people that, as you say, are out to frame Donald Trump?
It came from an FBI official or agent, it's a little bit unclear, who is upset that he didn't believe that the documents he was looking for in Manafort's office or home were there. And he assumed they had to have been destroyed, so he got other documents and purposefully leaked it in violation of the law. It's a crime to the media. This just underscores that the law enforcers are now the law breakers. I'm hopeful that these people will be brought to justice, and the first step is the Inspector General's report, which may be coming out soon.
And there's another. I mean, there are lights at the end of this tunnel, and another one is Judge T.S. Ellis, who today got his hands on that scope memo, that the memo that talks about the scope that Mr. Mueller originally had given to him by Rod Rosenstein when he set up the special counsel. If this judge, because he's pretty clear, he thinks that they're just trying to squeeze these people in order to get Donald Trump. If this judge sees something wrong, sees that Mueller's gone beyond the scope of the investigation he's supposed to do, we're going to hear about it.
We are going to hear about it because this is a no-nonsense judge who actually knows the law compared to other judges. I read the transcript of the last hearing, and he forced Mueller's attorneys, the prosecutors, to admit that the charges against Manafort did not arise out of Mueller's investigation as the special counsel regulations require and as the initial order demands. Instead, they dug up an old dead and buried investigation of Manafort in which no charges were brought because of insufficient evidence. And the judge was saying to them, where's your authority? This is an old case. You can only use evidence you've obtained on your own.